building a nest. It found some of the paper that was in the roots of the jujube we planted last night, and it's running around like it's a prize, but I didn't have my phone turned on, so I didn't get it. So we'll just turn that phone on in case there's any more really cool things to see this morning. Just had a hummer over there and those aloe vera flowers. Look at these yellow bird of paradise. Pistachio. Doesn't need much water. I'll just give it a tiny amount. It has a bubbler. But it's already setting some nuts on. And remarkably, so far, the quail haven't showed any interest in these nuts, but there's a first time for everything. I have a couple quail out here this morning, too. I kind of got to keep an eye on them, make sure they don't try to eat anything. Most of the flock has given up on coming to the yard. My neighbor took the bird seed, and she's putting the bird seed out for the birds now. Across the street. Look at those pretty fire bells over there. Today my husband is bowling in a tournament. It's the second time bowling the city tournament. I guess we can start some organization now that we've got about everything planted, right? So what we might need to do, get everything picked up. We need to have one more outside fire here and get rid of that wood. It's kind of a trick out there. Kumquat is looking really healthy. Hasn't put any blooms on yet, but it's just a matter of time. I think it probably likes the heat. And our delicious apple is putting blooms on now. Let's take a look at that this morning, see if we're still... See, there's another bloom. Hey, Will, good morning. Happy Saturday. Out early this morning, getting some watering done before we leave for a bowling tournament. And I saw the quail out here, and I had to come out and make sure they weren't eating anything, because that's what they do, as cute as they are. Looking pretty good. I think that diatomaceous earth helped. And yesterday we had a ladybug out here on this tree, which is awesome. Looking pretty good. I don't think I see any. My husband's really good. I used to bowl a little bit. He taught me how to bowl, but I used to be a long distance runner and I did a lot of running. And I would probably end up needing surgery if I did any bowling, so it's just not worth it because I'm actually not good at it. But he's pretty talented. You can Google PBA Kerry Painter. He actually just dropped his PBA card. At 72, he doesn't want to compete with 50-year-olds, but yeah, he's pretty good. That's how we met, actually. You just started running, Will? Oh my gosh. Well, if I could do it over again, I mean, I guess I don't know that I would have changed that journey, but I probably wouldn't have run as many marathons because it takes a toll on your joints over time. But I love running. Hey, buried, you roll gutter balls, bumper bowling for you. I've joked about that. I'm like, would they let me use the bumpers? No, I probably could have gotten a little better at it, but I did a lot of running. And in Alaska, the races are pretty scenic because you're outdoors, out. I mean, there are some that are in town, but actually town's pretty small compared to here, right? And most of them are out and back kind of races and very scenic. The Gold Discovery Race is one of my favorite ones. That actually starts out at the Fort Knox Gold Mine. Well, you start out at Silver Gulch Brewery and you take a bus to the Fort Knox Gold Mine because you can't actually drive onto that property yourself. So it's going to be a long time before you do a marathon, huh, Will? Yeah, the races in Alaska are really beautiful. And then the other one, okay, so there's two two races that people come from all over the world to run. One is the Midnight Sun Run, and that one's a 10K, so that one's not too hard. But what's cool about that is it's lined with people that come out. It's kind of a community event, and there's bands playing in some places, and people have hoses because it actually can be either really raining or really hot on that day. I've run it a couple times when it's 90, and it starts at like about 10 o'clock at night just because of the potential for it to be hot. And you end up at Alaska Land. Sometimes they call it Alaska Land, sometimes they call it Pioneer Park. For some reason that's political, I don't know. Around the solstice we have almost 24-hour lights. Actually, some places do have 24 hours light, but where I'm from it's about 23 hours. And so yeah, that race ends up at Alaska Land or Pioneer Park, whatever you want to call it. And there's lots of fruit. There's usually a band and a beer tent for people that like that. And it's just really fun. It's a very fun race. And it's only a 10K, and you're not out in the middle of nowhere, so you can't get lost. The Gold Discovery Race starts at the Fort Knox Gold Mine, ends at the Silver Gulch Brewery, and there's a barbecue and free beer. And the Equinox Marathon, that one is in the fall. It's pretty cool. You start out, you have to have enough layers on so that you don't get hypothermia, right? Because you can have frost. They've actually had snow before. I would never run that if it snowed. I think it'd be dangerous. But the Equinox Marathon, that one starts at the university, goes out through all the ski trails and through the muskox farm, goes up Esther Dome about 3,000 feet in elevation. That's the one that really beats you up, but it's absolutely beautiful. And then comes back into town, ends at the university, or at least it used to. I don't know. It's been a while since I've run it, right? I've been here since 2017. And I quit running, unfortunately, 10 years ago from an injury, but I love running. I wish I could still do it. But yeah, if you stick to 5 and 10Ks, you might be able to run your whole life, possibly. I read this book, one of the faculty I worked with gave me, called What I Think About When I Think About Running. And the first marathon I ran, I was actually working for athletics on campus. And one of the coaches left an article on my desk about the first woman that ran a marathon and how people tried to stop her. Women weren't actually allowed to run marathons back then. I thought, wow, that's pretty amazing. But hey, 5K is a great distance. 10Ks are pretty nice too, but with 10Ks, you kind of you have to watch your speed, because if you get to running too fast, you really feel it at the end. So you can run faster in a 10K than obviously you could in a half marathon or a marathon, but just find a pace that's comfortable for you and stick with it. I felt like I always felt the worst after the 10K just because I could run faster. It was a shorter distance, but that affects your diaphragm, and sometimes people have an upset stomach afterwards from running. Plus it's, often close to 90 there when you're running that. But cool. You made the mistake of overpacing and had to walk almost the whole thing. Yeah. So when I first started running, one of my friends taught me this technique when your stomach gets funky when you're running, and you just kind of breathe out hard, like that. And somehow that helps with your diaphragm. Like, I don't know why, but it just does. It's almost like maybe you get air trapped in weird places or something. I don't know. That's not a scientific, nothing scientific about that, but that's what she told me to do, and it helped. But yeah, you definitely want to find a pace that's comfortable for you. Getting a little water on this stuff. Got some more seeds back here. I added chili pepper seeds back here. Hot peppers grow really well here, so there's nothing wrong with running slow. Well, now because I ran so much, I walk. And Most of the time I walk slow. You know, I can walk faster if I have to, but I've never really been a fast walker. It's the funny thing. Your Achilles started hurting a little bit because you were so unused to running. Yeah, you know what? Be really, really careful with that Achilles because turning my ankle is what stopped me from running. And I never had a problem with my Achilles, but your feet are very important. The most important thing I would say about running is make sure you're wearing a really good pair of running shoes because you put an awful lot of force on your feet with running. So that's pretty important. Let me move my step stool here. Put a lot of force on your feet. That is the most critical thing. And I think maybe that's one thing that made running such a good sport for me is really the most important thing that you had to have was a pair of shoes. So from that perspective, it's actually more affordable than a lot of sports. I did try some cross-country skiing one season, and it was beautiful. It was really cool because you could get to places that you couldn't get to walking really. But unfortunately, it's so cold where I lived in the winter that it had to be at least 0 for me to even consider trying to ski because I just could not stay warm. But I only did that one season just because, again, I don't actually really enjoy the cold, which is pretty funny considering that I lived in Alaska for such a very long time. And we planted some more tomato seeds back here. Definitely don't hurt yourself because for a while I actually had problems with just walking. But I did this really cool treatment with this chiropractor lady, and it's called acoustic shockwave. And it's the same treatment that they use. That's the robin. Can you hear that noise? It's the same treatment that they use to break up kidney stones. And what it does is it works on scar tissue that you can't see. So when you have an injury, like a soft tissue injury, it actually forms scar tissue that you don't see in your body. And I didn't realize that. So a lot of times pain is caused because the body is trying to move and your tendons are hitting the scar tissue and it's not moving smoothly. Oh, I guess the wind blew the rest of the paper from the roots over here. And I think the robin's going to take it for its nest though, because it seemed pretty interested. It was hopping around with a piece of that. All these birds are thinking about nesting. It's that time of the year. Oh, I just found a black aphid. Oh, let's just take care of that here. It's funny how that works. Yeah, if you get into skiing, that is like the best body workout there is. You literally use your body for it, but you have to be good at handling the cold. Obviously, you're skiing on ice and snow, right? Where'd you guys come from? I didn't see you before. The birds are like, lady, get out of our yard. We're trying to do our thing. It's kind of a fun time in the morning. Hey, Dr. Eusta. You are a pretty good rhymer there. Hey, Simi. Good morning. Sorry, I just almost missed you. I was checking out the black aphids on the tree. Good morning. Thanks for joining the channel. You know, that's one thing I'd say about having plants is here you got to watch them. There's so many darn bugs here. In Alaska, all we had is aphids, and it doesn't take much for something to take out a tree, a plant, but there's a lot of bugs here, and I guess it's because it gets so warm, right? We don't have a real freeze here. All right, this is my mandarin that's not a mandarin anymore. The rootstock overtook it. So I'm thinking about trying to graft the kumquat onto this. But I'm also trying to root some of the other trees that we have, like cuttings. And if that succeeds, then I might just put a totally different tree there too. So we'll see. I don't know. It's one of those, everything takes time. Those blackbirds are making a lot of noise this morning. I always wonder what they're doing. I don't think it likes that. It's a little too intense. Let's see if we had any success with our zucchini over here. It looks like it's actually going to make a zucchini. I think that's going to happen. So my pollination attempt actually worked. Hopefully we get some more blooms on there. It's pretty cool. I love zucchini. You are loud wherever you are in that tree. Oh, do you? This paddle cactus is so cool. The paddles are edible and the fruit is edible. You just obviously have to get the stickers off of it, but it just takes a little technique. It's not hard. And we made barbecue sauce and we made wing sauce out of the paddle cactus fruit last year. And I actually made quite a bit of it. So this year I'm not going to be making anything from them except juicing them because they're really sweet. Like they kind of, I made vinegar from them one year too, and it kind of tasted like, or smelled like watermelon candy, I should say, which is interesting. But juice, they're pretty good, and they have really great things for your eyes in them. Hey, Dwayne, welcome to the channel. Like astaxanthin and, oh, what's the other one? Just good stuff for your eyes. I'm that girl that always looks up food that I like. What does this do for me? And cactus is really good for your eyes. A lot of them actually have high vitamin A content. I guess that's from all the sunlight, right? What you doing this morning, Dwayne? Thanks for joining the channel. Good morning. Just out here getting a little early watering in because my husband has a bowling tournament today. We're going to drive out to Pahrump, which is kind of scenic. It's a different kind of scenic from where I come from, and sometimes you can actually see goats and mountain sheep, mountain goats and sheep, or burros even. They have wild burros here. Last time we didn't see any critters, but you go past the Red Rock Canyon area, which is really pretty, and sometimes you see hot air balloons, but that depends on the weather. If there's any wind at all, they can't fly, my husband says. So I don't know what time of the year they start that. Spring is pretty windy here. It's our dwarf grapefruit. Hasn't set any flowers on yet. It's probably saying it's not warm enough, lady. Be patient. Our apples. Look at these apples. Wow. Look at that. This is amazing. I love this tree because it sets the fruit on before it gets hot. It's so cool. It was one of our first successful trees. And interestingly, this one actually also got borers, but we were able to treat this and get rid of the borers. Unfortunately, with the apricot, we didn't have any success with getting rid of the borers. And I think my hose is kinked somewhere. Let's see here. Maybe that'll help. Okay, that's better. So this Anna apple, it's a great tree. It's an Anna apple, and it's shorter than I am. And it seems to grow more, it's kind of more bushy, right? Whereas the delicious apple over there is going to have a tall trunk eventually. But I love this tree. The apples initially, they're green and they kind of taste like Granny Smith. But if you're able to leave the apples on long enough and it gets ripe, my hose is not cooperating. If you're able to leave the apples on long enough and it gets ripe, they turn kind of a golden color with crimson streaks, and then they taste like apple pie. Oh, they'll get bigger. Well, it just depends. Like right now we haven't had any really high heat, so I haven't had to take any of them off. If it was suddenly like 120, I would have to pick them because there's like so many apples. I don't know if you can see them all. There's lots of apples. This tree is like very good to us. There's like apples all over in here. All over. So a wonderful tree. So if it was to get hot all of a sudden, I would have to pick them because it would stress the tree and we'd lose the tree. So far so good though. It started blooming and setting on really early. I mean, it's not even May yet, right? So I think we'll have a chance to get some nice size apples here this year. Sometimes I do, because like some of these, I don't know if you notice, there's like a whole bunch on one branch, right? So yeah, I'll probably, as they get a little bigger, I'll eat some of them and pick them, because other words, that's probably hard on the branch. The branch might break, right? Most of this doesn't need too much water, except these pots out here don't get as much, and they'll dry a little bit. This is the cooler side of our yard. This is going to be a great asparagus patch at some point. Asparagus requires patience. Unfortunately, I had a patch going on the other side of the yard, and I had given up on it because it just never seemed to make big enough asparagus to eat, and I had missed a plant. And well, we're into compact gardening. We don't have a lot of space, but I just trying to plant out everything I can, right? Like this is a new bed this year. We tried a tomato over here last year and it actually survived the week of 120. And so I thought, wow, okay, I'll grow tomatoes over here. And these are Thornton tomatoes specifically that I had that survived the heat. And you can see it's already setting a tomato on right in there, right? Actually, a lot of these blooms look like they're going to set tomatoes, so I'm pretty thrilled with that. Hey, Shauna, good morning. Welcome to the channel. We're just getting some early morning watering in before we head out for a bowling tournament today. And I tried putting stakes in there and there's not enough dirt, so I'm going to have to come up with a different plan for that. Because these tomatoes will get big. These will probably produce all summer long. We'll find out, right? I started these probably in January in the grow room, maybe February. It might have been February, but they're already fruiting. And this is our Stella cherry tree. And let's see, did it drop its blooms? They might not have gotten pollinated. It had about 5 blooms on it. So far we haven't gotten any fruit on this tree. It looks like it did give up. Either that or a bird ate them. That's possible too. But this is a baby tree. It's its 3rd year in our yard. We plant everything as a really small stick tree. In other words, it's expensive, right? We don't spend a lot of money on trees. We just grow them. So that requires patience, but look at that. It's just done beautifully in this yard. Well, that's what the problem is, I think, maybe. My hose is fighting with me this morning. I don't know why it's doing that. It's like, oh, it's the screw. Maybe the screw needs to be tightened. Okay, let's... There we go. That's what it is. I need to tighten the screw. No wonder I have no... There we go. Troubleshooting. There it is. Yeah, it's doing great. It looks healthy. And our pomegranates are starting to set pomegranates on, which I'm thrilled about. Last year it had a lot of pomegranate on it, but it got so hot they all split, right? Like maybe 10 of them didn't split. And then the critters were tag teaming it. There's all kinds of things that are hungry here in the desert. So let's go around so we can see that better, and I'll show you a couple of the pomegranates that are setting on. Yeah, this isn't a big yard. You just create garden beds all around, right? And start planting. And we have bubblers, but I add extra water to some parts of the plants. Let's see here. Here's a pomegranate setting on. And these are the blooms when they first set on. See if I can find some buds. This is what the buds look like. These trees are really very pretty. The thing that I have to watch, oh, here's another one that's going to set on right here. The thing I have to watch with this tree is the leaf-footed beetles. And last year we found out that leaf-footed beetles, not only will they cause problems with the pomegranates, but with the almond as well. what they do is they don't eat, that looks like that one's gonna set. They don't actually eat, that one setting right there. See that? They don't actually eat the fruit, they lay their eggs on it. And it's crazy because we couldn't figure out what was on our almond. We were expecting them on the pomegranate, so we were ready for them, right? But we didn't expect them to go for the almond tree. And we were looking at the almond tree, and it had what looked like extruded plastic on it. And I'm like, what is this? And I'm like, I know this isn't good. So I'm breaking the plastic looking stuff off. Well, that was actually the larva of the leaf-footed beetle. And somehow they create a proboscis and they stick it into the nut. And we don't actually have any hibiscus planted, but my friend gave me some seeds for it. And I was thinking of maybe putting the hibiscus back here because I read that they like shade, and we don't really have a whole lot of shade in this yard. But back there, I think we'll get shade all year round because it's between some trees, right? But anyway, the leaf-footed beetles ruined our almonds. The larvae are able to stick a proboscis into whatever they lay them on. And, oh, the red hibiscus get big, and they literally start digesting the nut. So I didn't know. I cracked open like a whole bunch of nuts, and I was so excited because it actually had the most nuts it ever had put on it. And they were ruined. They were slimy, they had spots on them. And I'm like, what the heck happened? And that's what it was. It was the leaf-footed beetles. We have some zucchini back here too. These get quite a bit of shade. And it's interesting because the wood and the soil that was causing me so much trouble in the grow room because it would just sprout mushrooms, this area gets more shade, and we have all these stupid mushrooms back here. Oh well. I don't think they're really going to hurt anything, but I really hate the potting soil or the type of garden dirt we got this year. It just, all the wood, and I actually saw something about that saying don't buy compost because it's mostly wood and clay, and it's true. It's really hard to get good wood or not good wood, but it's easy to get wood, but it's hard to get good dirt, and it's not easy to tell. Even if you ask somebody at the garden center, they're like, oh yeah, there's no wood in this dirt, and they were wrong. But so I started screening the dirt. I'm trying an experiment. I have this electronic composter that I really like, and I added some compost into one of the trays in the grow room. I didn't add too much because it's very organic, and I was concerned that it could sprout mold. And so far, I haven't gotten any mold on it, so I'm thinking I'm going to be able to use that compost in my trays in the grow room, which is huge. I'm all about trying to make my own fertilizer if I can, which I haven't really so far, but we are able to generate compost. And we have some composting bins back here too that we also add to. It's definitely a journey learning to garden. And the lemon, can you see here? We're starting to get some lemons on here. I'm so excited about that. We love lemons, but we've had all kinds of problems. Like we almost lost this tree to mosaic virus. And if you know anything about mosaic virus, they actually say that you're supposed to burn the tree, right? That's how serious mosaic virus is. But we actually gave our tree ivermectin. We gave our tree ivermectin, and it killed the mosaic virus. So like at first we were watering it with the ivermectin once a week. Then we went to, just slowly space it out every 2 weeks, monthly. And we finally got a healthy tree. But figuring out water, this is a Meyer lemon tree, and they're actually tropical. Figuring out how much water they need is huge because it'll only put on as many lemons as it can support. So this tree gets a little more water than all the other trees. There. Good luck, conscious machine. But we love our fruit trees, and obviously I love gardening and the outdoors, and we get a lot of that in our backyard. And I think I've about gotten everything that I need to water this morning. Let's take a look at the figs. This fig is a wonderful tree. See that? These are going to be wonderful. Um, they'll kind of turn a brownish yellow when they're ripe. And the first time I figured out they were ripe, it was because the birds were eating them, right? But this thing is going to give us wonderful figs. And if you've never had a fresh fig, there's no comparison between a dried fig and a fresh fig. Sometimes I just eat them raw. Other times I'll actually bake them with a little balsamic and honey and a little cheese in the middle of it. It's so good. It's a great kind of breakfast appetizer, I guess. But anyway, that's about it in our garden for the morning. We are going to go to a bowling tournament today, but here you can see some pistachios sitting on the tree. And it takes a long time to actually get pistachios on a tree, so take that into consideration, depending on your age, whether or not you actually want to plant these. But it's a beautiful tree. It's pretty cool looking. It looks pretty Mediterranean, right? Anyway, thanks for tuning in so early this morning. I hope everybody has a blessed day, and we won't be doing too many videos, obviously, because we're going to be going to a bowling trip, a bowling road trip this morning. So have a blessed day. Thanks for watching.